Coming up tonight on the news at 6. A Helena concert connected to COVID-19 cases has now become an issue in Montana's race for governor. Plus, playoff soccer comes down to a shootout. We have the highlights.
From Montana's news leader, this is MTN News at 6.
Well, good evening and welcome to the news at 6. I'm Marian Davidson. Thanks for joining us. All right, well, we're getting closer to the weekend and possibly to winter. Curtis Grevnitz will tell us what's going on.
Yeah, well, every minute we're getting closer to actual winter, but winter-like weather will be moving in here this weekend. Happy Friday, everybody. It's been fairly warm, relatively warm, and windy out there and a little wet. A lot of green here on the map with the extreme northeast part of the state seeing a little snow, but the cold front is just about crossing the Canadian border here. And that will bring in some big-time changes here for the weekend. Look how much of the state is under a winter weather advisory. This really for Saturday, and this is for the rest of this evening here. We'll talk about snow totals coming up in the forecast. But from start to finish here this weekend, we will be seeing snow. Very snowy weekend. Slippery when white. Yes, remember how to drive in snow. The white stuff on the road can be a little slick at times. It's been a while since we've all driven in conditions like this that I'm expecting. And it's a stormy stretch that goes beyond the weekend. More in the forecast coming up.
Thanks for that, Curtis. Montana reported 665 new COVID-19 cases today. And since last night, 2 more deaths were reported, one in Hill County, another in Lake County. That brings the total COVID-19 related deaths in Montana to 252. Right now, there are just over 7,700 active cases in the state, and 319 people are hospitalized with the virus. So far, just over 14,000 people are reported to have recovered. And Lewis and Clark Public Health are warning everyone that attended the Let Freedom Ring concert on October 3rd to closely monitor themselves for symptoms of COVID-19. MTN's John Riley reports.
Public health officials say multiple individuals that tested positive for COVID-19 in recent weeks say they attended the Let Freedom Ring concert in the Helena Valley earlier this month. Health Officer Drenda Neiman is concerned given that when they tested positive, they could have been contagious at the event. Neiman says right now it's not about the debate of whether the concert should have been held, but letting people know about potential exposure.
It's really hard for public health to do contact tracing in a situation like that, where we don't know who was there or who is necessarily close to who. Please watch for symptoms. Please be aware that you may have been exposed. Keep an eye and monitor symptoms and stay home if you have any symptoms. Get tested and certainly work with public health on isolation and quarantine if it comes to that.
If anyone is experiencing a high fever or trouble breathing, they should seek medical help as soon as possible. A significant crowd size attended the Let Freedom Ring concert, which included 3 bands, vendors, fireworks, and an appearance by Congressman and gubernatorial candidate Greg Gianforte. A large portion of those in attendance did not wear a mask or socially distance more than 6 feet during the concert. Organizer Jerry Steed says people knew the risks coming to the event and believes public health is trying to blame cases on the concert.
I want people to be safe. Of course, I think we owe it to all of us. But for the health department to act like everyone's too stupid to look out for their own self-wellness is ridiculous.
Last week, Lewis and Clark Public Health requested the assistance of the county attorney's office in regards to COVID-19 guidelines not being followed at the event. The county has yet to make a decision on what or if any legal action will be taken and are awaiting additional reports from the Lewis and Clark County Sheriff's Office. Reporting in Helena, John Riley, MTN News.
Republican gubernatorial candidate Greg Gianforte attended that concert, and now Democratic candidate Mike Cooney says Gianforte exhibited, quote, reckless behavior and should get tested for COVID-19. But Gianforte has declined. MTN chief political reporter Mike Dennison, we are having some technological issues, so 1 second while we get to our next story. The nation's top fish and wildlife official now has a better understanding of what some local ranchers think should be done about grizzly bears. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Director Aurelia Skipwith and Senator Steve Daines held a roundtable discussion with ranchers this morning. The ranchers shared their experiences with bears. They believe the bears are no longer endangered, should be taken off the endangered species list, and management of bears turned over to the state.
I know that delisting comes with a whole gamut of lawsuits and those sorts of things, but maybe there's options while they're listed to give us some more flexibility.
All right, and starting next week, another satellite election office will be open on the Blackfeet Indian Reservation. The new office is for voters in Pend Oreille County. It's at the Hart Butte High School and will offer in-person registration, early voting, and voting on Election Day. The office will be open every Monday and Election Day from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pend Oreille County is opening the office after being sued by several Native American rights groups. They claimed voters on the Blackfeet Reservation did not have adequate access to election services, violating the Voting Rights Act. We did speak with one lawyer who called the move a victory for the Blackfeet Nation. And coming up on the news at 6, the Helena YMCA got a $1 million grant, how they're putting it to use to help out during the pandemic. The news at 6, the Helena YMCA just got a grant to help support their child care program for families in need. MTN's Alexia Guayo has the story.
This is not a classroom, but a child care facility offered by the YMCA. From the CARES Act, Helena YMCA received a $1 million grant to support their distance learning child care program, an idea that was provided by the city and Lewis and Clark County.
We met with them and they said, we would like you to provide child care for our workers. And I said, well, you know, that'd be great, but we have a problem. We don't have a building because we would be leaving Lincoln School.
The city, the county, and the fairgrounds agreed to let the YMCA use their expedition hall for the program.
As of Friday, the YMCA has about 50 students enrolled into their child care program. Let me show you the facility. They have enough capacity for about 160 students. That's about 10 students per pod. They can have enough room for about 18 pods, which is about 1 pod per school, including middle school, with the possibility of expansion should it overflow.
The youth director says this structure maintains pandemic safety for everyone and allows students to get back to normalcy.
I'm getting tons of feedback from kids as well as parents. A lot of the parents are just thankful that it's somewhat normal again, because when they're able to send their kids somewhere else when they're not going to school, I mean, that makes it feel like they're back on a normal track of school.
The grant money will also be used to help families in need of childcare. With the grant, the Y hopes to reduce their cost of $40 a day to $30 a day, half of that for city and county workers, and financial aid applications are available for those needing more assistance paying for childcare.
No parent or family saw that they would need this kind of childcare in their budget. You know, they can plan for the summers, but to all of a sudden realize they have to find 3 days of care for their kids, you know.
The YMCA expect to have this child care program available throughout the school year. As of Friday, they've stated they haven't had one case of COVID-19. In Helena, I'm Alexi Guayo, MTN News.
And due to increased demand, the Y is looking to hire about 10 people to help out with that child care program. And now that we've got things back up and running, let's go back to that story about the concert. Republican gubernatorial candidate Greg Gianforte attended that concert on October 3rd. Now, Democratic candidate Mike Cooney says Gianforte exhibited, quote, reckless behavior and should get tested for COVID-19 because that concert, health department officials said, was linked to several cases of COVID-19. But Gianforte said he has declined to get tested. MTN chief political reporter Mike Dennison has the latest, and that's coming up in just a second. But as we said earlier, that concert had been linked to several cases of COVID-19. Health department officials say people weren't sure if they were contagious at the time of that concert. And so they're still working to contact trace and They're saying that people who are at the concert should make sure to be monitoring themselves for symptoms of the virus. And also, all right, now we're still having some technical issues with that story. So we're gonna go right over to Chief Meteorologist Curtis Gravenitz to talk about what's coming up in weather.
Some difficulties on the roads perhaps here this weekend. All's clear for the time being. Get your traveling out there right now because it will be slippery. I'll have more on the full forecast coming up next. All right, welcome back, everybody. Who could use a weekend here? Well, here we are, and live look from Geyser at the Highwood Mountains. Things are going to look a lot different in about 6 to 12 hours here. 58 degrees right now in Great Falls, some gusts up to 30 miles per hour. It's been a very windy day in Helena. Calm this morning, but the wind has been increasing through the afternoon and currently 60 degrees in spite of all the cloud cover that we've had out there today. But here's the front just pushing through about the Sweetgrass Hills area. Cut bank if you're to walk outside. It's very windy. The wind's coming in from the west. Give it another 10-15 minutes, that wind will switch around to the north. You'll likely feel the wind shift here, and still some strong wind, but again, this wind will be dying down as we go through the night. Really after midnight, that's when the wind will begin to really tone itself down here. But high wind warning conditions with maybe some gusts up to 65 miles per hour here down the Rocky Mountain front through Cascade County, Judith Basin County, out through Lewistown, and down through the Judith Gap area. That same area and more under a winter weather advisory here. Now, this winter weather advisory likely will be going all the way into Sunday because we've got several rounds of snow coming through. And by Sunday, these are the snow totals that you can expect here. The plains, as much as 6 inches of snow. Same goes for the valley locations. The Rocky Mountain front, right along the Rocky Mountain front, as much as 10 inches of snow for places like Augusta, maybe Shoto, points west, and then the mountains down the divide, the big belts, the little belts, as much as 16 inches of snow. The fires, yeah, still a little activity, still some smoldering and some hot spots here, but certainly nice to see the moisture on those fires. And I do believe by this time next week, fire season will be pretty much over with here. Some rain moving out. We actually have the sun breaking out here along Interstate 15. Enjoy it, the sunset here, because the clouds will be rolling back in. Northeast of Glasgow and Wolf Point, that's where we've got some snow. But the front will continue to work its way south through this evening. Maybe a few rumbles of thunder along the front here. And then look at the snow by midnight, 1, 2 in the morning. Lewistown, Great Falls, down the Rocky Mountain front, in Helena, in Boulder, in Townsend, down into the Bozeman area. The snow continuing into tomorrow morning. Great Falls, Lewistown, Helena, Bozeman, down through Interstate 90 on the Billings side of things, picking up some snow. But a lot of northern Montana maybe seeing a break in the action through most of the afternoon, while we'll still have a little snow continuing around Helena. The snow winding down, or it looks like it's winding down, because the next round starts moving in for Saturday night into early Sunday morning. Snow will again increase across the area. Thus, my snowfall forecast going all the way into Sunday evening, because we still have snow, 6 o'clock on Sunday evening. So by tomorrow morning, an inch or two around Lewistown, Great Falls, and Helena, maybe down the Rocky Mountain front as well, but a little more accumulation through Saturday, a little more on Sunday. And here we are by Sunday evening, where you see that shade of white, at least 3 inches, and the pink, more than 6 inches of snow. Here's a look at some select areas. Helena 3 to 6, Great Falls 3 to 6, but Helena in the mountains around town, double those numbers. Actually, could see as much as 14, 15 inches of snow above 6,000 feet. For tonight, teens and 20s here for much of the state. So we're in the 40s, 50s, even the 60s right now. These numbers are going to drop. Wet roads will become slippery roads by tomorrow morning. And here's the forecast for Saturday. There's that snow, a little steadier and more consistent, closer to the Continental Divide and closer to Interstate 90. The sun actually going to come out around Havre and Glasgow, out through the Jordan area. And then Sunday, we've got snow once again increasing across the area here, with more accumulation likely throughout the day here on Sunday. High temperatures again in the 20s and the 30s. Here's the 7-day forecast for Helena. So a snowy weekend, but before We get to midnight tonight, might even have a rain shower, rumble of thunder as well. Sunday night into Monday, warmer air works in. We may switch over to rain by Monday, and then rain showers Tuesday, rain on Wednesday, going back over to snow Wednesday night into Thursday. Boy, I'm very busy here this weekend and next week. Before Great Falls, a cold, snowy weekend. A little break tomorrow afternoon and evening, but the snow increases on Sunday morning and continues into Monday before we have some warmer air working in to north central Montana.
And coming up, Helena High girls soccer takes it to overtime in today's playoff game. The highlights still ahead.
Montana's news leader. You're watching MTN News at 6.
Welcome back to the News at 6. Well, earlier this week, the Bozeman Gallatin girls won the first playoff soccer game in program history. But the top-ranked Helena High Bengals stood in their way in today's quarterfinal. MTN's Richie Melby has the highlights.
As kids, you dream of that moment. Bottom of the ninth, bases loaded, clock winding down, the shot from half court. PKs for the rights to move on. That's what we saw on Friday afternoon. Helena High and the Bozeman Gallatin girls going the distance.
Regulation wasn't enough, extra time wasn't enough. Let's set up some kicks. Each team made its first 5 shots in the PKs. That means we bring out the next 5 shooters, and the first 6 of those, 3 each, good, though it was getting closer to that ultimate save. And then came this. Speaking of, Helena keeper Audrey Aker stuffs it.
What they tell us as goalies is the stress isn't on you, it's on the shooters, because they're really hard shots to save, you know? I could tell that I was getting closer and closer. I was waiting for it to happen, to be honest.
So now the pressure's really on both sides. Avery Kraft stepping up for the chance to move Helena High onto the semifinals, and she does it. Left corner on the money. The Bengals move on. Gallatin's inaugural season comes to a close in the quarterfinals.
So Helena High advances. Bengals likely at Nelson Stadium on Tuesday. It'll be Class AA semifinals. Who they face has yet to be determined. Reporting in Helena, Richie Melby, MTN Sports.
All right, and we'll wrap things up here on the News at 6 when we come back.
Montana's news leader. You're watching MTN News at 6.
Well, just in time for the holidays, film buffs have the chance to own the stars of one of the most iconic seasonal TV specials of all time. 2 of the figures used for the animated 1964 stop-motion Christmas classic, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, are going on the auction block. The 11-inch tall Santa and 6-inch tall Rudolph, those are a lot smaller than I thought they were created by Japanese puppet maker Ichiro Kumaro more than 55 years ago. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is the most beloved holiday film and longest-running TV special. The one-of-a-kind stop-motion animation figures are expected to fetch as much as $250,000 at the auction. Profiles in History, the auctioneers, have set the sale date for November 13th, so put that on your calendar if you feel like you need to get one of these iconic movie classics.
Give me some Yukon Cornelius or a Bumble maybe. They bounced, did you know that? Here's a Great Falls 7-day forecast. Some snow tonight, probably transitioning over to snow around 10 o'clock. So make sure you tune into the news here. And we've got some snow tonight into tomorrow morning. Most of Saturday afternoon and evening, not much in the way of snow. The snow redevelops though on Sunday and continues into Monday. Monday could have a little rain mixing in as warmer air moves in as well. And for Helena, a little steadier snow through Saturday with a solid amount of accumulation, maybe 6 inches by Sunday evening.
All right, and we'll be back here at 10 with that package from Mike Dennison breaking down the possible controversy in the gubernatorial race and that concert here in Helena. Plus, we'll have your football highlights from around the state. So we'll see you here tonight at 10.